It's round 4 in the Waterpolo Champions League. A round full of great teams, not so great decisions and great surprises. Welcome to the Waterpolo Champions League highlights. We saw some very exciting games in this round 4. Here are the results. Mladost beats Olympiacos with a last-second penalty. Recco and Ferencvaros continue their unbeaten run, and Hannover makes one of the greatest, if not the greatest surprise of the season so far. A massive opportunity opened up on matchday 4 for both Mladost and Olympiacos. And it felt like a Matrix moment. Two doors, two very different futures. Door 1, Elvis Fatovic's side grabs 3 points in Zagreb and practically steps into the quarterfinals, maintaining a flawless run. Door 2, Zoran Bajic's men stay true to their promise. No one leaves their pool with points, especially not tonight, pulling level with the Greek champions. So yes, we expected fireworks, and fireworks is exactly what we got. Not in terms of a runaway scoreline. Did you really think teams of this calibre, with this much at stake, would even allow that? But in intensity, in momentum swings, in drama, absolutely. Funtelis, Buljabasic, Gukilas all hit the target, and then came a moment of fine play. Lacic with the assist, Verlic with the finish, one of the cleanest link-up plays of the match. The goals kept coming. Zorzatos added a huge highlight by stopping Kharkov's penalty, the first of the match. And by the end, it felt like penalties were our destiny anyway. Zelenki made it 3-4, the top scorer from their first European class striking again. 1 quarter down, 3 to go. Mladost opened the second with another Verlic strike, though the period had largely belonged to the Greeks. Angel restored Olympiacos' lead, but Mladost tilted the momentum right back their way. Captain Vukicevic equalised. Imbiljaka completed a fine action play finish to flip the narrative. 2 goals for Mladost, 2 goals in response from Olympiacos. Dimu and Gunardinias from the penalty line again pushed the Greeks to another minimal advantage, 6-7. Half-time. The first true breakaway arrived in the third. Lacic equalised early, but 3 straight Olympiacos goals steered the Greek ship directly towards victory. Alafragis, another Gunardinias penalty, and a Pouros man up. Still, Olympiacos' sharpest weapons all found the net. Nagaev had the final word of the quarter, quietly beginning his journey towards man of the match. On a side note, Guvis picked up his 3rd exclusion, but he wasn't the last. 8-10, 8 minutes left, and that's when the chaos began. Confusion, questions, interpretations debated on both sides. But let's start with the goals. Mladost struck from distance through Basic and Kharkov. Back to square one, 10-10. And just when 11-10 seemed inevitable, the goal was cancelled. The follow-up chance ended with Buljabasic missing. And then came the twist, a penalty awarded after Gunardinias entered the field too early, according to the referees. Nagaev stepped up, face to face with Zorzatos, and he won the duel. 11-10. Papanastasio and Biljaka reduced to bystanders. Bukic too. Less than 2 minutes to go. Who else but Gunardinias, Olympiacos' long-time scoring machine, to keep them alive? The pressure was rising. He stayed ice cold. But Kharkov delivered again, an even bigger goal at an even bigger moment. And speaking of players leaving early, Buljabasic joined the list. Grenadiers stayed lethal on the man-up. 12-12. A brief joy for the Greeks, because Lasic erased it instantly. 13-12. Angyal responded in the same style. 15 seconds left. Zelenki committed his third personal, meaning Mladost now has a golden chance. Everything resting in Nagiev's left hand, back to the 5-metre line. One more duel, one more face-to-face moment, and once again he rose to the occasion. A golden opportunity taken. Mladost 14, Olympiacos 13. 3 massive points. Mladost now is level on 9 with Olympiacos. A roller coaster of a group stage, and 2 more match days are yet to come. Ahead of the 4th round match in Group C, it was clear that Ferencvaros were the heavy favourites against Oradea, even though the game was played in Romania. After all, the 2-time defending European champions entered the match with a perfect record, while Oradea had 1 win against Primorac and 2 losses. One of those defeats had come right against the Frari, who were very convincing in the first round at home, winning by 8 goals. Even so, the hosts opened the match very well. They even took the lead in the first attack through Filip Garashevich. After that, there were no goals for almost 7 minutes, until the visitors equalised with a goal from Akos Nagy. Ferencvaros took the lead for the first time through Martin Vamos at the start of the second quarter. From then on, we watched a very even match until the end of the first half, and the teams went into the break level thanks to Flavius Ilisi, who scored with a man up for 4-4. It was a very balanced scoreline, but then in the second half, Ferencvaros shifted into a higher gear and quickly began to pull away. They won the third quarter by an astonishing 6-0. The run was started by Christian Manhertz, returning to the team, scoring with a man up. Nagy continued it, also with a numerical advantage. And it was finished once again with an extra player by Stalianos Agriopoulos. However, the reigning champions showed no mercy. Even though they had practically decided the match already, they didn't let up. In the final quarter, they produced a huge run, scoring 7 more goals in a row. One highlight was Gergo Fekete's goal on the counter-attack. The incredible streak was capped by Eduardo Di Soma, who scored from a penalty. The run was finally stopped by Tommaso Insina, also scoring from a counter-attack. During that stretch, Oradea went 16 minutes without a goal, an almost unbelievable statistic. The Frari won the second half by a score of 13-1. The top scorer was Vendel Vigvari with 4 goals, while Manhertz and Nagy scored 3 each. For Oradea, no one scored more than once. The Hungarians thus secured passage from the group, while the Romanians are on the brink of elimination. This was the match that had clear goals for both teams. Brescia needed the win to continue the fight for second place. Primorac needed it to even start to fight. The Montenegrins came to Italy with 3 losses in 3 previous rounds. Brescia started well. They were leading 4-2 at the end of the first quarter after Gianazza scored with a nice turn. But Primorac was not backing down. Poparic brought Brescia from a -5 lead mid-second quarter. Vukacevic responded with a 2 goal in a row to bring it to 8-7. That was the story of this entire match. Brescia would pull away, Primorac would come closer. After Ferrero scored from the counter-attack for 11-8, Burkic responded for 11-9. Soon it was 13-9 for Brescia, and Primorac was also a man down after Vico was excluded. Nevertheless, Primorac came back again. This time a nice goal from Marseille for 13-11. Brescia was dangerous from outside the entire match, like this Gorato shot from 6 metres. Chetkovic scored for 15-13 after a couple of lost possessions on both sides. Brescia secured the win in the last quarter. 2 goals from Balzarini and 1 from Giri gave them 4 goals of an advantage. It finished 19-16 for Brescia. Alessandro Bovo and his team are on the brink of securing the quarter-final stage. Primorac is officially out. In Group D, Marseille had a solid start. They linked together victories against Hannover and Barcelona away, but then in the third round they were somewhat unexpectedly defeated at home by Sabadell. Hannover, meanwhile, suffered heavy defeats to the French side and Barcelona, but managed a home win against Sabadell. In the first round, Marseille had beaten the Germans by a high margin of 11 goals, so they entered this match as the favourites as well. But the hosts showed right at the beginning that this would be a completely different game, taking the lead through Antonio Buja with a man-up goal. The French managed to regroup and turned it around by the end of the first quarter. Adam Nagy made it 2-2, and Nagy again, with a man-up, gave the visitors their first lead. At one point it seemed the match was heading in the expected direction when Efstathios Kalogeropoulos, with an extra player advantage, put Marseille 2 goals ahead for the first time. But Hannover were clearly highly motivated to take revenge for the defeat after their first meeting. First they reduced the gap through Nicolas Schipper with a man-up, and then quickly equalised through Marco McCann. The half-time score was level, 5-5. A real goal fest followed in the second half. A 3-0 run was finished by Denis Strzelecki right at the beginning of the third quarter, scoring with a man-up. That mini-run was interrupted by Radomir Drašović on the other side, again with a numerical advantage. But now it was the Germans who controlled the game. They pulled away again, this time thanks to Kasper Langewietz with a man-up, and then Schipper, who with 3 goals was his team's top scorer, extended Hannover's lead to 9-7. Marseille responded, and with a goal from Roman Marian Vernu with an extra player, they managed to equalise again. Still, the home team put together another mini-run before the end of the quarter. Antonio Buja put them back in front, and Luka Jasic made it 11-9 just 9 seconds before the buzzer. When Strzelecki scored from open play in the first attack of the final quarter to bring the lead to +3, an upset seemed obvious. For a while there were no goals, until the brilliant Nagy, who scored 5 goals, reduced the deficit with a man-up. Hannover restored the 3-goal lead through Marco Gansen. A new hope for the visitors came from Thomas Vernu, who had been off form that evening. The match was definitely decided 2.5 minutes before the end, when Schipper converted an extra player to give the Germans an unattainable 14-11 lead. The French managed only to soften the defeat in the final moments. We saw 2 more man-up goals. First, Nagy scored, and then 19 seconds before the end, the excellent Hungarian added the final goal. There was simply no time left for an equaliser. With this win, Hannover significantly complicated the situation in the group. All 4 teams still have a chance to advance. It's increasingly clear that the 2 quarter-finalists will not be decided until the final round in February next year. Radnicki returned to winning ways on matchday 4, and this time taking all the points in Budapest against Vasas. They left the hosts empty-handed, one of only 2 teams in this Champions League campaign still without a single point to their name. Radnicki opened the match far better, building a 3-goal lead heading into the final 90 seconds of the first quarter. But Vasas fought back. Báthory, already on his second, and Lakatos struck late to pull the host back within 1. For the first time, the host side found the equaliser, the first of 2 such moments during the second period. And if Vasas had Báthory, Radnicki had Volokopoulos. By the end of the night, the 2 were leading scorers of their teams with 5 goals apiece. The Greek maestro played a key role in Radnicki's 3-goal surge, a run that saw only a single answer from the opposite end of the pool. 6-8 midway through the match. But Vasas refused to fade, trimming the deficit back to just 1 on 3 separate occasions. Yet every time they came close, Radnicki pushed them back. Every time momentum threatened to shift, there was an answer. More precisely, there were 2 answers, Perlanovic and Volokopoulos. Both added 2 crucial goals in what proved to be a pivotal quarter for the flow of the match. 10-13. The gap reached its largest at +4 once again, thanks to Perlanovic at the start of the final period. Though Dallas' extra player strike brought a spark of hope back to the home crowd. But in those next 4 minutes, all the movement meant little. Without real attacking solutions, neither side could alter the scoreboard. Until the final minute. Dedovic buried a man up to restore the 4-goal lead. But Vasas had the final say, or rather, the Vasas captain Báthory did. Make those 2 final words. His quick-fire brace in 34 seconds cut the deficit to just 2. But time ran out, as did the home team's 4th opportunity to finally find a winning formula and secure their first European points. Radnicki, meanwhile, keeps its ambitions alive, aiming to lock down a place among the continent's top 8. And the final 2 match days will reveal whether they have what it takes to make that happen. Three points for Pro Recco in their final European home match of 2025 would secure their place among the continent's top 8. For Novi Beograd, a victory was essential to keep their hopes alive for second place, the last ticket to the next stage of this prestigious competition. Their window of opportunity is getting smaller, and the points they still need for the quarter-final push are running out. So to say, a chance to grab them, that is. Add to that backdrop of 2 straight home defeats in the regional league, and the scales tipped even further towards Pro Recco. And in the end, they justified every bit of that favourites tag. From the very first whistle, Novi Beograd made clear they weren't here to back down on the road. As the goals traded back and forth across the pool, neither side managed to break beyond a single goal cushion. Still, Recco's sharper finish to the first quarter, capped by a quick 2-goal mini run, handed the hosts a slim but valuable edge heading into the second period. For the first time in the match, the gap stretched to 2, delivered by Recco's newest face on the European stage. Mladost springs forward on the counter and rifles it to ignite the second quarter. Novi Beograd responded through their captain Chuck, trimming the gap to a single goal, yet whenever the visitors script a comeback, Recco immediately flips the page. 6-5 after 16 minutes of water polo. The third quarter proved to be the turning point of the match. Pro Recco capitalised on another man-up through Paliavard, but Lukic erased the 2-goal advantage once again to make it 7-6. And that was the last of the Serbian side for some time, for more than 5 minutes to be precise. Because Granados took over 3 straight goals against his former employer, he unleashed 2 from the left side and added 1 more from the penalty line. By the end of the penultimate quarter, we saw a goal on each side. First, it was Pavillard securing the +5, what ended up being the biggest advantage of the match. only to be lowered to +4 thanks to a precise shot from the Serbian side's captain Čuk and his powerful extra player's shot goal. 11-7. The final 8 minutes offered 2 goals for each side. And what we save as a pattern for the majority of the match, including 3 different occasions where Novi Beograd had 2 extra players in the pool, followed in the last minutes as well. That is, the lack of efficiency to convert the power play opportunities, yet Plivanic managed to score one. Joki Grata doubled his tally with what proved to be the last goal of the match to end things off at 13-9. The points stay at Recco, still unbeaten, still a strong contender for Malta and the European throne. This was the game that the host Jadran Split couldn't afford to lose after 3 defeats in the first 3 rounds. Jadran Novi on the other side came to Split with 2 wins in the Champions League, but with a loss in the regional league to the arch-rivals Primorac a couple of days ago. The host started well, scoring in every opportunity in the first quarter. After this Vatovic goal, it was 5-2 for Jadran Split. Novi goalkeeper Andrić had only 1 save in the first quarter. The Croatian champions continued with good plays in the second quarter. Vatovic made it 8-4 after this clever cut. Zovic scores for 9-4 from the right side, and that was the largest advantage of this match. Janovic squeezes in a last goal for the half for 9-5. The guests woke up in the third quarter, and with 4 goals to the Jadran Split 1, make this game open again. It was 10-9 after Janovic scored his goal. Jerko Marinic Kragic has returned to the water after the elbow surgery, and he celebrated his return with this beautiful take for 11-9. Novi tried to stay close, but in the third quarter finished with 16-year-old Skajic scoring in a counter-attack. The Montenegrins came back again. Radovic is first on the rebound and scores for 14-12. Jadran Split was chasing a 3-goal advantage to annul the defeat to Novi in the first round. They had it 12 seconds before the end of the match. Skajic was left alone, but young lefty stayed calm and scored. 3 seconds before the end of the match, Merkulov reduces the deficit and it finished 15-13. A first win for Jadran Split, but with a caveat: the Montenegrins have managed to hold to the advantage from the first match. In Group D, a match between the 2 currently strongest teams from the country of the world champions. Sabadell entered the match with 3 points, earned in the previous round with a somewhat surprising win in France against Marseille. Barcelona suffered its only defeat at the hands of Marseille, and that happened in their home pool. In their first head-to-head meeting, the reigning champions celebrated convincingly away with a 16-12 victory. Sabadell put up a good resistance at the start and even took the lead twice, with goals from Alberto Barroso and Martin Famera, both times with a man up. Unai Bialara made sure that the home side did not enter the second quarter with a deficit. In the second quarter, the visitors held the lead for most of the time, as was the case after this goal by Thiago Carrillo. But Barcelona seemed to shift into a higher gear after that, overturning the score before half-time with goals from Roger Tahul, who scored 3, and Alessandro Veloto. They didn't stop there, and through Marc Valls, they went 2 goals up for the first time. By the end of the third quarter, Sabadell's game unfortunately fell apart, and the home team pulled away to an unattainable lead. Contributing to that was Ferencvaros, who scored his 3rd goal of the match from a penalty, and Gergely Burian with a goal from open play. In the final quarter, Barcelona comfortably maintained their advantage, and soon it stretched to a maximum of 6 goals, with Tahul scoring from the centre position. The last goal for the visitors was scored by Federico Panerai with an extra player. The final score of 13-7 was set by Vicvari with a counter-attack goal in the very last moments of the match. With this victory, Barcelona made a big step towards the quarter-final group, but Sabadell is still not without hope. There were 3 unbeaten clubs in Waterpolo Champions League, now there are only 2. Pro Recco and Ferencvaros lead their groups and have secured passage to the quarter-final stage. There were 3 clubs without a win, now there are only 2. Jadran's split has broken the spell, Vasas and Primorac still with 0 on the account. 2 groups are completely open after this round. Group A with Olympiacos, Mladost and Radnicki. Group D with, well, everybody still hoping to stay in battle. Round 5 will give us more answers. We'll see you in 2 weeks.